you have a business or you're thinking about starting one. But when it comes to putting yourself out there, you feel a little bit tense, or you feel like you're okay with the idea of it. But then when it comes to actually doing it, actually putting yourself out there, posting on social media, sending out an email, you cringe because all of a sudden you're thinking about what your friends from college might think, or what your old coworkers might think, and how they might be judging you or criticizing you. And ultimately, you have this fear or resistance to being seen. And this is something that's really common for a lot of the women I work with. I'm pretty sure it comes up for almost everybody. And usually it is related to something much deeper from childhood, and it's usually related to an abandonment wound. And you may not think of yourself as someone who has an abandonment wound, because typically we think about abandonment wounds being, when a parent left you and you were physically abandoned. But abandonment can be a lot of other things. It usually is more common to have some sort of abandonment wound around emotional abandonment or emotional neglect. So when you were growing up, if you needed your parent to be present for you in some way, or be emotionally available in some way, or be able to help you through hard feelings or hard emotions, and they weren't really capable of doing that or didn't have the space to do that, then that can cause an abandonment wound, and it can cause a feeling of neglect or a feeling of not being important or not good enough. And when you go to put yourself out there, you might be afraid that you're going to experience that again. So that fear, that worry about what everyone else thinks, it's actually rooted in this deeper fear of abandonment. Because if other people don't agree with you, or they criticize you, or you feel rejected because maybe they don't resonate with what you're saying, that all feels on a deeper level to your inner child who still has this wound. It feels like abandonment. So doing something as simple as sharing on the internet about what it is that you do can feel like a threat to this inner child who still feels abandoned and is ultimately trying to keep you feeling safe and not wanting you to put yourself in a position where you could feel abandoned or rejected. So the fear of being seen is ultimately the fear of abandonment or the fear of rejection. So also, if you had parents growing up that would criticize you, or even if they were just hypercritical of other people, I always remember hearing my parents criticize other people, and I would internalize that as, well, I don't want them to criticize me, so I better be perfect and do all the things they want me to do so that I don't get criticized. And then it would show up in my business as being afraid of other people criticizing me, because that would feel like a rejection, or it would feel like abandonment, especially if you have parents who didn't show up for you in other ways, and especially in the ways that you really needed. Or maybe they only gave you positive attention when you became the version of yourself that they wanted you to be. Like, say they really wanted you to, do really well in school. So as long as you did really well in school, then you got that attention or that praise or that love or that support. But maybe you were really good at art and they kind of thought that that wasn't important. And so you learned that the truth of who you are, the thing that's authentic to you, is not important and is going to be rejected. So when you put yourself out there, you're going to be bracing for that rejection or that feeling of abandonment. So the question is, what do we do about this, right? And, you can force yourself to show up on social media as much as you want. However, because you still have that deeper wound, you're probably not going to be able to show up in your authenticity, and your authenticity is what draws people to you. You want to be in that authenticity because that is your unique frequency that's going to draw the people to you that you want to find you. So you want to be able to be in your authentic expression and feel comfortable in that. And in order to do that, we need to address that deeper abandonment wound, that inner child who is still sad and hurt and in pain that she didn't get what she needed and she felt neglected or abandoned on an emotional level or on a physical level by her parents. So this is where we need to go into the core wound and looking at where did this originate? What do I remember from childhood that felt particularly lonely to me? Or what did I need that I didn't get? Or how did I feel like I had to show up in order to get love? These are all things that you can think about. And if you want to learn more about the core wound, you can download my private podcast, The Core Wound Solution. The link will be in the description. And that will really go deeper into the concept of the core wound. But for the purposes of the fear of being seen, I want you to do some journaling around this because you'll be able to get really clear on like, where did this come from? Why do I have this fear of abandonment or this fear of rejection? And how can I reconcile it? So first, do some journaling. And I want you to journal on what is it that I needed from my parents that I didn't get? And don't think about this too much, okay? Because if you start thinking about it, your adult brain is gonna start to negate what's coming up. And we really wanna address your childhood brain, your childhood self that your adult brain might say like, oh, that's not really true, or that doesn't make a lot of sense. But things don't make a lot of sense to a child. A child is just thinking, I needed this and I didn't get it. They don't have context for what the circumstances were or what their parents were going through or any of that stuff. So just stream of consciousness, right? What did I need from my parents that I didn't get? And then the next journaling prompt is, when I put myself out there, what am I expecting to happen, right? And think about all those people that you are afraid are going to criticize you or aren't going to agree with you or whatever. What are you afraid is going to happen? And then I want you to make the connections between how you're feeling now and how you felt in childhood. And then you can use one of the breathwork sessions that I have here on the channel, the one about accessing your power, and start to breathe through some of the emotions, see what comes up, and then you can start to walk yourself through some of these deeper emotions using the breath work, because so much of the fear of being seen and the fear of abandonment is resisting those feelings that you don't want to feel. That sadness that you felt when your parents couldn't be there for you in the way that you needed, that rejection, that loneliness, that pain, that fear. You want to be able to walk yourself through that and breathe through it. Because when you do, you're going to come out on the other side and you're going to have a sense of safety within yourself. You're going to have a sense of power within yourself. And you're not going to be seeking that sense of safety from the validation of the people around you. So then you're going to be able to show up on social media without needing that validation or that approval from the people that are watching you. And you're going to be able to show up in your authenticity without worrying about how everybody responds to you. And that is eventually is what is going to shift this. So if you'd like to learn more, like I said, download the Core Wound Solution, or you can reach out to me if you want to go deeper into this topic, because it's something that comes up for everybody, but it can shift. And I've shifted it within myself and I've helped hundreds of women shift it. It's just about addressing where it started.